Good evening. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this special event by CASA Foundation for International Development. At the end of our fireside chat, it's important that we wait around and we continue to network. Remember, this event is a networking event. It's not a time for you to sit by yourself and just have a pen and paper and just write down everything that you learn. It is an opportunity to meet someone and go home with a card and, strike the next business opportunity from this event. Is everybody with me? And do you agree? Do you promise to do that? Fantastic. So, for a quick introduction and why we are here, I would like to welcome the founder of CASA Foundation, Dr. Olutoyin Oyelade. She holds a doctorate degree in leadership and management from the University of Maryland. She's the founder of CASA Foundation for International Development and the partner at INCAB Corporation. She serves as a consultant and advisor to entrepreneurs, youth, and women in Canadian small business sector. At various times in her career, she had held responsibilities in fund management and client management operations in the financial services sector, covering Europe, Africa, and North America. Her bio is very long, but I just thought, let's cut it short tonight, right? Okay, please put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Olutoyin Oyelade, founder and CEO of CASA Foundation.
Good evening again, everyone. Good evening, good evening. Yes, I'll use this. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us tonight. It's such a pleasure, it's such a privilege, and it's such an honor. And I say that with all sense of responsibility. It's usually a joy to see all of us gather at events like this, not only to network, but also to learn a lot about ourselves, about the opportunities in the market and the resources that are available to us. And that's why I said to you, it gives me so much joy. I've been traveling in the past week over a couple of provinces, starting from Edmonton on Monday, spending some time with entrepreneurs and some of our new partners in Edmonton, and then moving on to Vancouver in the last 2 days, and also engaging actively with them. And I thought, this is just a huge opportunity for us, and we just cannot afford to leave Saskatchewan out of the league. And so we decided we should host this event. Very short timing and within the brevity of time that we had on our hands. It was really short, but I really thank some of our partners, some of them in the room tonight that helped us put this together so that you can all be here. And so again, let me welcome every one of us. We're going to keep it as informal as possible. It's not a night of speeches. It's actually a night to get to know ourselves, network effectively, understand some of the pains that we've been through as entrepreneurs, because it's actually very difficult to be called an entrepreneur, to navigate that journey of entrepreneurship. And so these are some of the things we'll be talking about tonight. And so I have a small, something short here just to welcome every one of you, like a speech. I'm going to read through. Otherwise, some of our assistants in the room would not allow me to rest. So I'll quickly do that. So again, good evening, everyone. For some of the government officials and the private sector leaders in the room tonight, I say welcome to you all. Our esteemed entrepreneurs who have come from various parts of Saskatchewan tonight, thank you again for coming. I just must acknowledge GMK, who is at the back there, one of our Black Advisory Hub graduates, and you're going to learn a little more about Black Advisory Hub tonight. One of our pitch winners, pitch grants, and graduates from the Black Advisory Hub, who has actually helped us and facilitated a lot of you people coming into the room tonight. So thank you again, GMK. And of course, to some of our board members who are also in the room with us tonight, thank you for coming, and thank you for joining us at this event. Like I said, it gives me so much joy to be in Regina, Saskatchewan. The week has been great because of some of the interactions that we've had with various groups of people, ecosystem partners, and potential partners, some of the universities that are now looking to work with us. But our message is clear. in all of this. This is an information session with a clear message. And the message for us is that there is value in the BIPOC ecosystem. We have value, we bring value to the table, we have a huge value proposition, and people need to listen to that value proposition that we each have. And that's our message. CASA Foundation started in 2011 in Toronto, GTA, Toronto, Ontario, that's a province in Canada, and that's where we started from. But since 2011, we've started a lot of initiatives and programs that we believe have been invaluable to a lot of our cohorts and ecosystem partners. And some of those programs, I'm going to talk about them at some point tonight. We started out with the Friends of Africa platform. And that Friends of Africa platform is a platform that would actually encourage entrepreneurs to come together to present their value proposition, something similar to a pitch, where you present your value proposition like a business proposal or a deck or a pitch deck. And that's how we started in 2011, because we just looked at the landmark, the space itself, and we felt there was a lot missing in terms of resources, in terms of capital, talent, skills, competencies, the entire ambit of it. And we wanted a situation where entrepreneurs, particularly black entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs of African descent at that time, could come together and take a break from their 9-to-5 jobs and start, some entrepreneurship venture, and then have investors sitting on the table, invest directly in them. It wasn't it wasn't a financial institution or anything. It was just, one-to-one, one-on-one, peer-to-peer interactions where peers would actually say, I have a lot of cash set aside and I could put that into your business. So that's how we started in 2011 at the Friends of Africa. But today, the Friends of Africa actually boasts of about 5,000 people locally and internationally, out of which more than 500 have actually been funded through that platform. And this is what we've been doing at CASA Foundation. And CASA Foundation, as a result of that intervention through the Friends of Africa, because it was a once-a-year event, then started with the Entrepreneur Exchange, where you could have entrepreneurs come into the room and exchange ideas about, how I started my business, how I got my capital, how I got my board members, and so on. And they would share that with people in the audience. And so a lot of people drew inspiration from those types of interactions over the years. And we went on and on. It was just an intervention, and it was a group of like-minded people looking to intervene in the community and see what exactly the gaps were in the community. But I'm glad to let you know today, and I'm sorry I'm speaking extempo a bit because the speech is kind of long. I'm glad to let you know today that after all of those interactions, by 2020, we didn't know the pandemic was coming. We didn't know that there was a crisis looming. All we knew was that we were making all these connections and interactions. And we were then able to start what you call, a women group like Women Inspire, where women could mentor fellow women. Because women have a different approach to running their businesses and learning. They need to feel comfortable. They need to trust you before they divulge any information and things like that. I know men are like that too. But I'm saying, they just have a different way of learning. And they have a way of sharing their value proposition. If they don't trust you, they won't really share. They can talk and talk and talk. I'm a woman, but they won't share the main details, the nitty-gritty of the business. And so we started the Women Inspire group to ensure that women could actually draw value from other leading women, people who had capital, vice presidents of banks. And so we brought all of those types of people into the room, and we started Women Inspire. That was March 5, 2020. On the 15th of March, the entire country closed down. We were all asked to shut down and things like that, and we didn't see that coming. But it was after then that we pivoted into the virtual space, and we started putting all of these programs together and offering it to people for free. And at some point, we were invited by the federal government to present that value proposition, the one I've been talking about, to say, look, what are you guys about? What exactly is this? And so on. And the Black Entrepreneurship Program, the opportunity came, and we were asked to present our value proposition. It was like submit an application. That's what I mean by present your value proposition. And so we did. And as I'm sure a lot of us understand and know in this room today, the Black Entrepreneurship Program then launched the $401 million fund, which the federal government approved across Canada for Black entrepreneurs. It's called the Black Entrepreneurship Program, but then, of course, it's available to BIPOC groups, Black people, women, as long as you're a black business. And the definition of a black business is a business that is owned 51% by black people. It means also that there's an opportunity for other people of color who constitute 49% of the board or ownership of whatever businesses we run. And that's, of course, very clear because they also know that we need resources. We don't have a lot of resources within our communities. And one of the ways that they help us address those issues is to bring supporting entrepreneurs, supporting businesses of other color that would help us enhance and improve what we are about. And so this is what the Black Entrepreneurship Program is about. And so I wanted us to come into a place like this, which has been the mission over the past week, to say, look, how can people really benefit from this? Because we hear a lot about resource gaps, challenges, issues. We know this, we have the ideas, but we don't have the funds. We have the ideas, but we don't have the team members to execute and things like that. So this is what the Black Entrepreneurship Program is about. And that's why I'm here today, and that's why I thought I should leave the speech aside and talk about it. So tonight, I'm going to allow the MC to do her job, but this is by way of an introduction, just in case you were wondering, what are they doing? What exactly is this about? And that's why it's a networking session, so that we can see it and talk about it. And then we also put together like a panel of entrepreneurs, leading entrepreneurs within the Regina space and Saskatchewan, to make sure that we have some robust discussions about the issues that we've faced over the years and ask a few questions. And then I'm going to come back based on that and share maybe more details of the 401 million, how it relates to you, what might be in it for, what's in it for me, or how can I take part in this? I might be able to answer a few of the questions, perhaps not all, but quite a few I can. So thank you again for your attention, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate
So
you.
we're going to welcome our panelists, and in no particular order, let's have Ms. Benes Richard, Chief Operating Officer, Customs Agricultural Intelligence International. She has a passion for sustainable solution in agriculture and has led her to co-found the company, where she focuses on researching and formulating strategies to balance soil nutrients and enhance crop health. Benes' enterprise is biochemistry, market research, and financial planning contributes to her hands-on approach in overseeing all aspects of the organization. In addition to her business ventures, she is a serial entrepreneur with partnership in 6 different companies, as an aspiring writer with 6 published books. Our ultimate goal is to inspire and make a positive impact on society by leveraging her business platform to give back to the community. Please, let's put our hands together for Benes Richard. Our next panelist, Yinka Adebolu, entrepreneur and community leader in Regina. He is a business owner and a community leader and an advocate for Black small enterprises. Yinka is currently the business development executive at Learn How Immigration Consulting. Beyond his professional pursuit, Yinka is married and enjoys supporting Arsenal Football Club. Oh, everybody's clapping for you. And we have Julius Epele, is BCW in Action's business team leader in Regina, with almost 10 years of experience in the banking sector as a consumer and branch manager for individuals and small businesses. Passionate about involving people, financial advice, and development strategies through BCW in Action, he supports the growth of Regina's entrepreneurs and their businesses. Please welcome Julius Epele. And finally, to moderate this conversation is a business coach and founder of Capacity Drive Foundation. Wale Adebogun is a conference speaker, seasoned banker, and leadership management expert. He defines his purpose as helping others maximize their potential and be all that they were created to be. He is passionate about the subject of leadership, marriage, and personal finance. He is blessed with the gift of leadership, communication, problem solving, amongst others. Wale has a Master's of Administration and Leadership, and his undergraduate degree is in political science, where he graduated top of his class. Please welcome Wale Adebogu.
Thank you, Victoria. How's everyone doing? All right, so Dr. Olutoyin, I heard you say earlier that we should make it as informal as possible, right? Okay, all right. We're going to try to do that. Are you guys ready? Yes. Okay, all right, awesome. A round of applause for our panelists. Yeah. You guys, let me try this side. What do you guys think? Maybe I'll move around a little bit. I may get feedback from the mic, but we'll see. Just let me know. All right, great. Well, first of all, let me welcome you to this session where we're going to be talking about the challenges and the opportunities that are available to business owners, of course, in the BIPOC community, so Black, Indigenous, people of color. So that's what we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes here. So it's my honor to be the moderator for this panel. I'm wearing two hats today. So apart from being part of Capacity Drive Foundation and being a business coach and supporting businesses in the community, I also do work for Royal Bank. So the #1 bank, right? Right. Yeah, we got to brag a little bit. So Bernice, are you smiling? All right, good. I have friends here that I've invited from Scotiabank, so they're laughing. Toby, I can see you already, and Grace as well, right? But I have a colleague of mine also, another Grace right there as well, that's with me tonight. So really delighted to be here facilitating this session today. So we're going to get right into it, and let's start with, people often say ladies first, right? So maybe we go ladies first today. Is that okay? All right, so I'm going to start with you, Bernice. And so there was a report by, Business Development Bank of Canada, right, BDC, and they were saying that the most effective way for businesses to really thrive and flourish is when they combine, financial support with advisory support, right? So I was curious, and of course you can share with us today, how have you benefited from advice as a business owner, but what are some advice that you've been able to give to other people as well? So I think I'll give you the mic, and then I'll stick with this. And you can pass it around. Thank you.
Okay. So personally, which is where I can speak from, the report is correct. There has to be a combination of the financial as well as the advice. However, I think that we have to consider the challenges in the financial space. So I would always say, and I say this to people, that when I started my company, the first amount I made was $200. And I leveraged credit cards. I got nothing from the bank. But I did not get to the next level of growth without the bank's help. So as much as there was difficulty, the financial ability to get a line of credit to continue going helped me expand exponentially. Now, mentorship, wherein the advice comes in. If you are talking to someone that has made $1 million, that is a good starting point if you want to get there. But if your target is to get to 300 million, you need to find people that, yes, I do agree that combination is the ultimate goal, ideal for exponential growth, and it's just about you finding your right fit in the community, I guess.
That's well said, right? I have I think it's embarrassing. I don't know if I should share it, but I think I will. So, we live on the East End here in Regina, right? And so on Sunday, we didn't have power, and we were getting ready to go to church. And so, of course, the garage wouldn't open because there wasn't power, right? And I couldn't figure out how to get open the garage manually. So we had to take Uber to church, right? So, and then we got back, and I'm like, there must be a way to open a garage manually, right? There must be a way. And so I went on YouTube, and then it was like the easiest thing ever. I was so embarrassed, right? That I'm like, so I went in, I told my wife, I told my kids, I'm like, there's something I should have tried, but I didn't try, but now I know it for the next time, right? And so that's what I was thinking about while you were sharing, right? The people that we surround ourselves with, right? The advice that you get. What you don't know, you don't know. And what you don't know might be that thing that prevents you from getting to the next level as a business owner. So that's well said. Thank you. And who's aspiring for $300 million? All right, I love that, right? So who wants to be a millionaire, right? All right, good. Let's hear from you.
So I'll take it from where the first speaker stopped, which is getting expert advice is really key, because most times you try to speak to people, colleagues, friends, of course, mentors and all that, but if you're able to get yourself in a position or a place where somebody who is knowledgeable of the subject, they know what they're talking about, it gives you confidence. You're able to take those information and then build on that. And the other thing too is most of all these places have what I call the one place shop stop, where they have a lot of information. So you're thinking of technology, you're thinking of marketing and sales, you're thinking of a lot of stuff. And you build a relationship, which is key, because relationship takes you to a different level in most cases, especially as an entrepreneur. So if you find yourself in a position where you're trying to move to the next level, or you're finding information, being able to go to places like that to pick their brain, I would say, gives you a better opportunity to grow. And when it comes to advisory, because I agree with what the first speaker said in regards to pairing funding with advisory, it really gives it a structure, so, and it also helps in areas where, be it, say you're in the technology industry, for example, or agriculture industry, you can choose where you want to go and get the right information and service. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, well said, Yinka. And as you think about the fact that advice is key at every stage of the business, right? I know I had the opportunity to meet some folks who were talking about being aspiring entrepreneurs, right? To be an aspiring entrepreneur, you need the knowledge, you need the advice, you need the guidance. And that's where the piece about mentoring that you were talking about comes in, right? And sometimes when we think about mentorship doesn't have to be somebody who's got gray hair, right? And they've done it for, 70 years. No, it doesn't have. Apologies, by the way, if anybody has gray hair here. Right? All right, so, all right. So my point is, it could be an 18-year-old that.
But here you need to know maybe the nuance or the rules, and that's why the advisory service are there to help them, to support. And I think the most important for people who want to launch a business is getting to the right information. It's help. That's why the advisory service is the biggest part for me. If you are, for instance, an entrepreneur, you need to understand your industry, how it's work here in Canada. Maybe it needs some requirement, and you need someone to guide you. I appreciate the point that you mentioned for the mentorship and also the networking, because, and we as advisory services, we try to figure out in our own community, maybe we have these expertise in our community, and try to start by these expertise. After that, we can all, when we are ready, we can see if we can give you some financial support. So pairing both is essential, but for me, the most important is the advisory services.
Yeah, that's well said. That's well said. Yeah, somebody was going to clap. You can. Thank you. Yeah. No, that's well said. And I think that a lot of financial institutions are starting to see that as well, right? and making sure that even when they're giving you that loan or that grant or that support in terms of financial terms, they're also putting benchmarks in place, putting systems, advice in place to be able to help you to be successful. And we'll talk more about that later on as well, how some of the banks are doing that. I know that we have folks from Scotiabank here who I'm going to bring them in on the conversation, but I'll speak on behalf of RBC as well as to, how we can leverage that later on. So, Dr. Olutoyin referenced earlier about, during the pandemic, how everything was shut down. And I know the pandemic feels like a lifetime ago. How many of you feel like that, right? It's like, did we actually go through that? Yeah, we did, but we came out strong, and here we are, right? And so I can only imagine, right, for business owners. I know that I was at a retail branch at that time as a branch manager. So I went to work every day because we were considered essential services. And some days I feel like a soldier going to work, right? It's like there is this invisible thing that's going to catch me, but I can't see it. And somebody might spit at me, felt that way. But business owners, but I was getting a salary, so that was good. But business owners, you've got to pay yourself. So I'm wondering, how did you navigate that? Right? What are some lessons you were able to take from the pandemic? I'm going to start with you, Yinka, this time. How did you navigate it? What are some things that you learned during COVID and even post-COVID, right? What are some lessons that you've taken away from that period, and how were you able to overcome some of the challenges that came with that?
Yeah, thank you. To buying and selling of products that need forex, foreign exchange, and all that. And we had to shut down because at the time, you couldn't even get the exchange rate was high. You can't do business and all that. So we had to shut down. We had to let go of that business. But the good thing, though, is, they say when a door closes, another open up. So during that period, we're able to, myself and my wife, we were able to start thinking and brainstorming on what to do. So we decided on going into immigration and started immigration consulting business. And COVID gave us that opportunity to look at what we can do that is less, less capital intensive, because the business we were doing before was so capital intensive. And so we started that, and today we've launched and, we're working our way. So I think the lesson learned will be the adaptability of, seeing things, challenges, and turning those challenges into opportunities that you can ride on. I think before COVID, I don't think most of us in this room heard of Zoom.
Yeah,
I'm not sure everybody even knows about the program. I'm not sure, but I'll quickly run through that program itself. This is a program of about 401 million introduced by the government of Canada in 2021, launched in August, announced, and then 30 non-profit organizations were approved the first round to manage the entire fund. And so the 401 million is broken into three pillars, under three pillars, three tranches. The Black Entrepreneurship National Ecosystem Fund, $150 million, Canadian dollars, the $150 million, and then the Black Entrepreneurship Knowledge Hub, as the name depicts, Knowledge Hub, where you get data, yes, and so that has $5 million. So that's the second one. The third one, which is the largest amount, is 192 million. And so I'm not sure if that totals 401, but it was 192 million when it was launched. And that's for the Federation of African Canadian Economies. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about FACE. So these monies have actually been given to all of these groups to manage. And what are they to do? The Knowledge Hub, data, collect data, domiciled with Carleton University, because Carleton is deemed to have the largest number of Black students and entrepreneurs and so on. So it's there, managed by an NPO. The 30 organizations, the NPOs that manage the 150 million part, I can't list the 30, but you can find all the names on the federal government website under ISED. innovation, science, and technology. So it's there. 30 organizations, including CASA Foundation. And so 4 of those organizations have a mandate to manage nationally, which is why we're here today. So you have to leave your comfort zone wherever you are and go around the country and make sure that the information sessions like this you hold, and then make sure people come into class to learn. And then the Federation of African Canadian Economies is the most impactful of them, I would say, because they not only control $192 million of that money, but then they are mandated to give out loans, 25,000 to 250,000 in tranches, 6 years, 7 years, 2-year loan. If it's only 2 you need, and so on. At the beginning, it was supposed to be for 6 years only, but then they left it open-ended, like a full bank. So you can actually access the fund by applying. So you have to go to, the website is there, Federation of African Economies, Federation of African Canadian Economies, face.ca, facecoalition.ca. So please check it out. You can apply for loans there. Now, who is eligible is a question Victoria asked me, so I just wanted to quickly give that background. Every business is eligible. So unlike the bankers, and I know a lot of bankers have spoken tonight, Wale, thank you so much for that, for moderating that session so well. And I know they've spoken, and they would never tell you, and this is not to speak for the banks, and this is not a debate, but they would never tell you they don't do startups like that. And they'll say, we do it. But they don't really approve so many startup groups. So you submit your application and they tell you, they're looking into it, you come back. But then it's all the stories up and down and so on. So that's the story about startups. I'm not sure how well they fund them, but a lot of people, there's that school of thought which I belong to that says to me that they don't usually fund startups. But FACE would fund startup groups. FACE Coalition would fund startup groups. That's a mandate of the federal government of Canada, that if you're just starting out, you have an innovative idea, you take it to FACE Coalition, and if it's well-supported, documentation, well-recorded, incorporated businesses, and so on, FACE will fund you. Now, I don't speak for them, expressly in that if you don't qualify, it means you haven't been filing your taxes. I mean, there are so many things, I's to dot and T's to cross. There are so many things we need to do. So when this program started, 2021 was launched. The first disbursement was made in November of 2021, if I recall. What I do recall is that, as we usually do, based on some of the discussions we've had tonight, people just flooded FACE and submitted applications, almost like 25,000 applications. The money is there for us, by us, managed by us, So, you had all these campaigns all over the place, we have the money and so on, which is true, we do. But then I think less than about 500 at the initial stage, maybe within the first 4 or 5 months, qualified. And obviously because, they looked at a lot of things. Nobody gives money like that. You have to fulfill some, there will be criteria that you need to meet. And so the easiest answer to that question again is, if you're a startup, you actually do qualify. So you can then think and walk back that, so if you're a growing company, or if you're at a proof of concept stage, or ideation, or you are growing, or you are even well established, or you have partners, or you're looking to cross borders, then you qualify. But I would encourage everyone to go on that website like that I just gave and find out. It would ask you to register and sign up into the community, and then you can now, there are a lot of questions to answer, because I guess they're trying to figure out who you are, where you've worked, what experience you have, or what experience you've garnered over the years. Once you answer those questions, I'm sure they'll be forthcoming. 2, as of last year, FACE Coalition celebrated its first year, last year, December, if I recall, November, December, and they announced that they had disbursed 35 million of the fund. So keep in mind, again, this is 192. To be disbursed, it's open-ended, but 35 million is already gone out to entrepreneurs like you and I. So we've got to really think about it. Perhaps we want to find out who are the entrepreneurs around us, or go on that website, because they can't list the names. Keep in mind, it's not a grant, it's a loan, so there are privacy issues, so they wouldn't list them. But I'm sure if you do your checks, and on their website, they are advertising a few entrepreneurs now that are funded by them. I would get in touch with them and find out, how did you get it, and so on, I think.
So what's the maximum loan you can apply for?
25, maximum is 250,000. minimum is 25. Not everyone needs 250.
How can you go about doing this? I know you talked about that earlier.
Yes, yes. The website, you will need to do that. Although our understanding is that you need to run through the national ecosystem. So the National Ecosystem Fund, the 30 MPOs are appointed to do that. Because of that challenge that I just articulated, they are mandated to actually train people. You know, you have a lot of coaches, master classes, and so on. So what are the pain points, really? The fact that people are not able to access capital because they have not been filing their results. So you can actually do what you call, you know, there are I'm not sure what those names are, but your financial statements, your audited accounts. Not everybody needs to be audited, but it depends on your revenue. It depends on what stage of business you are. As a matter of fact, if you're a startup, you are not actually expected to file, or you might not even have a financial statement, right? Until maybe 2 years or 18 months, if I'm correct. So they won't ask you. However, they would expect that you would have what you call a business cash flow projection. Yes, thank you. Cash flow projection. So you would have the cash flow, you would be able to present it. People need to understand, and I'm sure you will appreciate that viewpoint. It's a no-brainer, right? That if I want to give you money, I need to understand how you want to spend the money. Are you looking to hire somebody, and when? Is it in 2 months? Is it in 3? Is it in 6 months? How are you going to pay them? Are you going to be able to sustain it in 6 months, in 1 year? This is what the cash flow projection does for you. It's like budgeting, telling your money where to go, not wondering where the money went. You know what I mean? So these are some of the things they just expect us to do. And it's not just semantics, it's real. But we do understand that there have been a lot of challenges. And that's why they expect that you will come to the 30 organizations. There's one in charge, and I believe BC is one of them. So they put them in cities. Some are in charge of cities, some are in charge of regions. So you will have one in charge of like Saskatchewan, BC, Alberta. And then you have the ones that are national, like ourselves, that will need to go around and say, okay, now we need to really get this done. So these are the expectations. But we know that it might take a while. So a group like Casa Foundation, for instance, then went into partnership with TD Bank to say, look, we have to do all these applications. It's going to take a while, 6 months, 12 months, before we hear back. But we have this great idea, and we don't want it to go cold, you know. So what do we do? And TD Bank was able to come on board with us to actually make some funding available to all entrepreneurs that come to the Black Advisory Hub, which is part of the value proposition, to say once you complete the 4-month program, then you can actually present that value proposition we keep talking about and get a 5,000 grant. It's not a loan, it's a 5,000 grant, because not everybody actually needs 20K. They may need it in 6 months or 1 year, but to get started, a few people actually need a website to set up their e-commerce business and so on. So the 5,000 is for people like that while they're waiting to hear back from FACE. So that's what TD Bank has been able to do. Okay.
Do you require collateral for the loans?
Absolutely. When they talk about collateral, they talk, it's not, just like your mortgage, that's what they mean. Like you have what you call personal guarantees and so on, a statement of net worth, so they can get a sense of what the directors have. Because keep in mind, at the end of the day, we're not actually lending to entities, we're lending to the people behind the entity. So I think what they mean by the collateral will be all those types of things. And I'm sure that Wale can also assist me with this at some point, because I know RBC actually has a Black Entrepreneurship Fund. CIBC does, RBC does, TD Bank does. So I know for sure that at some point, Wale would actually be able to, maybe while we're grabbing some snack and all of that, we'll be able to keep talking about it while we're eating and so on. So Wale, I'll call on you to do that at some point. Yeah.
Actually have a slide.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to show just so it sticks a little bit.
Okay.
But I do know Grace is also here. She's a branch manager at Scotiabank.
Okay.
I didn't want to monopolize the
Sure, yeah,
stage.
please.
So if you bring up that slide a little bit, that would help. And you were talking about FACE loan. I know that when FACE was first announced, the big 5 banks were going to be part of it as well, but kind of fell out. So at that time, I was working at Scotiabank, so I was the regional co-lead actually, and we were waiting and waiting for FACE loan, and that sort of never came, and they ended up partnering with other two
Yeah.
credit unions that
Advance
they're
it.
doing right now. But the information I really want to emphasize, if you go to maybe slide 10, try 10, is that almost all the big five have the same program, where, like FACE, where they're giving up to 250,000 to businesses, right? So